Have you ever left a room with your chest tight, replaying every sentence and wishing you had said less or nothing at all? I have. I have watched a simple conversation turn into a courtroom. I have seen how one sharp reply cracks your calm and hands your power away. And I have also seen the opposite, a person who says very little, who sits steady while the noise rises. The air seems to bend toward them, not absence, control. This is the language of quiet presence, the blade that stays in the sheath. Machiavelli understood it as strategy. The Stoics lived it as discipline. The moment you argue, you step onto a board someone else arranged. You accept their pace, their terms, their need. You trade presence for performance. But the one who resists the pull holds the ground. He lets silence do what words cannot. He keeps the frame, and with it, the outcome. What does it look like in practice to outsmart without sparring? To win by not entering the fight at all? Stay with me and let's build that kind of calm together. As we step into the first chapter, picture the way a room tightens when tempers rise and one person refuses to take the bait. The chairs do not move, but the center of gravity shifts. Eyes drift. Time slows. Control returns to the one who says less and sees more. Now imagine your last heated moment, the pulse in your neck, the urge to correct, defend, explain. You felt the hook in your mouth and the line pulling you into someone else's current. I know that pull. I have swallowed that hook. I have learned to set it down. Here's where the Stoic lens clears the glass. To argue is to accept a frame you did not choose. It is to step onto a stage where applause and boos are both traps. Marcus Aurelius leaves a simple compass for moments like this. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. The practice is plain. You do not trade your calm to purchase agreement. You hold your calm to shape the field. Machiavelli understood the same truth from another angle. Power does not perform, it positions. The more you try to win a mind by force, the more you harden the shell that guards it. Arguments appeal to reason, but most minds, most days, run on something older and louder. Ego, pride, identity. When you lock horns, you do not move the mountain. You confirm it. I learned this in a meeting that should have been routine. A colleague fired a sharp question across the table, not to seek clarity, but to draw blood. I felt the heat rise. The room watched for a counterpunch. Instead, I let the space breathe. I took a sip of water. I asked one quiet question about criteria, then turned the screen to the numbers. The energy fell out of the moment like air from a balloon. No victory speech, no gloat, just gravity. Afterward, two people I barely knew thanked me, not for being right, for being steady. Steady wins rooms. This is not passivity, it is posture. It is the art of staying above the splash while others thrash in the shallow end. You do not feed the current, you redirect it. In the silent seconds after a provocation, you are not doing nothing. You are rehearsing mastery. Breath in, breath out, shoulders loose, jaw free, eyes clear. You are telling your nervous system the truth your ego forgets. Nothing outside can command you without your consent. From here, let's name what argument really exposes. It shows your attachment points, where your patience thins, where your need to be seen overrides your need to be effective. The louder you plead, the clearer your levers appear to anyone who wishes to move you. Words become handles. Handles become habits in the hands of people who study you. When you are easy to provoke, you are easy to predict. When you are easy to predict, you are easy to control. Silence removes the handles. It does not mean you disappear. It means you stop offering grips. You become harder to frame, harder to rush, harder to read. Mystery is not a costume here. It is a strategy, a clean kind. The kind that keeps the field open for action rather than noise. The one who chooses silence is not hiding, he is harvesting. He lets others reveal their assumptions, their fears, their tells. He learns while they spend. Consider the dinner table tension you know too well. A relative throws a sly remark across the plates. You could bite, or you could slow the room with a single neutral line. I hear you. I will think about that. Then you turn to the person beside you and ask about their week. No flinch, no correction. The remark withers without sunlight. You kept your evening. You kept your peace. You kept the keys to your mood. Online, the same rule holds. The platform rewards reaction. The crowd rewards spectacle. Do not give them your center. A brief note, if the matter deserves one, or nothing at all if it does not. Let the archive keep the record. Let your work carry the weight. Silence is not defeat. It is filtration. But what if you are right and they are wrong? A fair question. Rightness is not a shield against resentment. Win a debate, lose a season, corner a person, and you may force compliance for an hour while you breed resistance for a year. The Stoic aim is not to humiliate. It is to align action with virtue and reality. Sometimes that means speaking clearly and once. Often it means doing cleanly and soon. So practice this counterintuitive courage. Pause before the first reply. Name the frame before you enter it. Ask what the outcome requires, not what your ego demands. Choose one sentence that moves the matter forward, or choose the grace to say none. Hold your ground, not the microphone. There is a quiet authority that grows when you live this way. People sense it before they can name it. They watch how you do not hurry, how you do not swing when provoked, how you keep your promise to your own composure. Trust follows, respect follows. Influence follows, without a parade. At this stage, remember the simplest rule when heat rises. Presence before performance, results before rhetoric. Keep your center, and the room will come to you. We have only begun. In the next movement, we will look at what arguments really feed, and why they leave you emptier than when you began. For now, carry this. The tongue you master is the life you steer. Moving into the second chapter, feel the dust of the last exchange still hanging in the air while your pulse finally remembers a slower beat. The room is quieter now, not because the world softened, but because you stopped feeding it fuel. Now imagine the moment right before you clap back. The throat tightens. The rebuttal lines up like arrows on a string. You can already hear the applause in your head. And yet, somewhere deeper, a smaller voice asks a simple question. For what? Here's where the Stoic thread pulls tight. Epictetus reminds us that it is not events that disturb us, but the stories we tell about them. Argument fattens the story. It gives the moment extra teeth. It turns a passing gust into a storm you must outshout. Seneca called anger a brief madness. Argument is that madness looking for a stage. When we argue, we don't just contest facts. We audition for approval. We step into a theater someone else rents by the hour and wonder why the lighting flatters them. Machiavelli would nod here for a colder reason. Influence is not the final word. It is the frame that made every word seem inevitable. The instant you argue, you accept their frame. You agree to their tempo, their arena, their scoreboard. Even a clean point can smell like a loss when the crowd was never yours. Silence resets the venue. Silence puts you back at the table you chose. I learned this in a hallway after a tense meeting. A manager cornered me with a smile that looked like a handshake and felt like a trap. He wanted a public answer. It meant nothing and everything at once. I could have explained. I could have defended. Instead, I said, "I'll follow up with the numbers," and kept walking. He laughed, loud enough for an audience that wasn't there. The laugh ended quickly. By morning, the numbers were in his inbox. The subject was quiet clarity. No fireworks, just gravity. The hallway has never been noisy again. Silence, used well, is not a retreat. It is a mirror. People end up wrestling with their own reflections. They reveal what they worship most by what they try to force in you. Some worship being right. Some worship being seen. Some worship being feared. Your argument becomes their altar. Your silence starves it. There is a hidden cost in every rebuttal. You show your pressure points. You map your patience on the floor with chalk outlines. You tell the room what moves you and how. The more often you argue, the more you become a pattern. Patterns can be gamed. A predictable man is a movable man. A movable man is a useful pawn. A quiet presence breaks the pattern. It turns you into a question mark no one can easily puncture. Not mysterious for vanity. Mysterious because you close the doors where noise used to live. You don't rush to be understood. You choose to be effective. There's a difference. One hunts applause, the other builds outcomes. Picture a family dinner where a familiar jab floats across the table. Your old self would volley back. Tonight, you breathe. You straighten your spine, not your voice. You pass the salt. You ask the youngest about her art project. The jab falls to the floor and finds no echo. That is power. Soft, precise, final. Consider the comment section where strangers perform outrage like a sport. Every reply would be a ticket sale. You choose not to fund the show. You go for a walk. You call your mother. You do 10 push-ups beside the bed. You send one thoughtful email that moves a real thing forward in the real world. Your day belongs to you again. But what if silence looks like weakness? Then you are still playing for the crowd. A Stoic does not measure virtue on borrowed scales. Strength is not a tone of voice. It is a custody of self. If a single sentence is needed, say it once and cleanly. If proof is needed, produce it without ceremony. If neither is needed, let reality do its slow, accurate work. Results end debates no sentence could. Notice how argument feeds the ego's hunger to be the last voice standing. The ego loves the echo. It confuses volume with victory. Yet real power does not need a curtain call. Real power needs no witness. It is the confidence to leave a line unanswered because your life is already answering it at scale. So train this in small minutes. Let the first wave pass. Put your hands flat on the table. Feel the wood. Count to 6 in your head. Ask one question if a question is useful. Or say, "I'll think on that," and keep your promise to your calm. Repeat until the body believes you under pressure. Discipline turns into instinct. Instinct turns into presence. Presence turns into command. In time, you will notice a new gravity. Rooms settle when you enter. People edit themselves before you ever speak. They're not afraid of you. They're aware of themselves. Your quiet is a tuning fork. It brings the pitch down. It brings the truth up. What once needed 10 minutes of defense now needs no minute at all. At this stage, remember the core move. Do not trade presence for performance. Do not feed the fire that only wants to watch you burn. Keep your center. Let their storm circle an empty field. And as we advance to the next chapter, we'll see why silence not only builds this center, but protects it, turning restraint into the strongest shield you will ever carry. Advancing to the third chapter, Feel how the air cools after the storm you refuse to feed. What remains is not emptiness, but a clear field you control. The lights are softer. The room listens, even when you do not speak. Now imagine the exact second a mask slips. The face smiles, the eyes calculate, and one careless argument gives them everything they came to take. I have seen careers tilt on a single hot reply. I have watched respect earned over years drain through one crack in a voice. Heat reveals what patience would have kept hidden. Here is where silence becomes a shield. Stoic practice calls it custody of self. You guard the gates. You decide which winds may enter. Marcus Aurelius offers a straight road. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. The discipline is simple and difficult at once. You refuse the performance. You keep the posture. You let the facts and your conduct speak in a language that requires no defense. Machiavelli studied the same law in harder light. Appear as humane, faithful, upright when it serves the order of things, and never let argument reveal what you withhold. Words become footprints. Footprints can be tracked. When you argue, you print a map to your fears and loyalties. When you stay spare and precise, the ground shows nothing. Opponents wander without a trail. I learned this watching a negotiation that was veering towards spectacle. Two executives circled the same accusations, voices polishing each sentence like edges. The oldest person in the room, a quiet woman at the end of the table, said only 3 sentences in an hour. She asked for the decision rule. She asked who owned the risk. She named the time it would be measured. Then she was silent. The room had to move to her. The deal closed on her terms, not because she won an argument, but because she never left her frame. Silence protects power because it denies the hooks. An argument invites dissection. It tears open the soft parts of your thinking and your pride. It gives resentment a handle to pull. People rarely remember the transcript. They remember the feeling you left in their chest. If you corner them with words, they leave bruised and plotting. If you hold your ground without pressing, they leave aware of themselves and clearer on you. The lesson lands without humiliation. The bond survives. Leadership magnifies this truth. A manager who debates every challenge trades altitude for turbulence. An executive who explains each decision trains the team to chase reasons instead of results. The leader who listens more than he speaks, who moves without a drum, becomes a fixed point. Stable beats loud. Calm scales. Presence convinces what persuasion cannot. Practice it where the risk is small so you can carry it where the stakes are large. In a meeting, state your position once and park it in writing. In a conflict at home, do not try to win the night. Aim to win the season. Say one clear boundary and keep it. When bait appears on your screen, remember that engagement is the prize they sell. Do not buy it. Put the phone down and go make something that will still matter tomorrow. A line withheld can be a life returned. This is not silence as sulking, not silence as punishment. It is deliberate quiet as strategy. You are not withholding love or truth. You are refusing to leak power. You are choosing the move that cannot be twisted, clipped, or quoted against you. You are building an archive of actions that no rumor can erase, and if a word must be spoken, speak it like a stamp, not a splash. One sentence, clean, final. Then go back to work. Results are patient soldiers. They win wars that arguments only start. At this stage, hold to the shield that has no logo. Guard your center from needless noise. Let quiet do its heavy lifting. In the next chapter, we will take that quiet and turn it into a method for outsmarting chaos, so you never mistake restraint for passivity again. Entering the fourth chapter, notice how chaos tries to rise like steam when the lid rattles, and how a steady hand turns the heat down without a word. The crowd leans forward. The noise asks for a partner. You do not audition. Now imagine the exact beat before you defend yourself. The heart ticks faster. The tongue sharpens. The room becomes a stage, and you feel the pull to perform. For what? If your ground is solid, why must you shout to keep it? Here's where Stoic discipline and Machiavellian clarity shake hands. Marcus Aurelius warned us not to spend life arguing about what a good man should be, but to be one. Machiavelli, stripped of sentiment, would add this: if your position is strong, act. Don't defend. Demonstrate. Real power does not ask to be seen. It is seen because it moves when movement matters and refuses the rest. Argument is often a covert plea. Please see it my way. Please confirm me. Please don't dismiss me. That plea leaks power. It tells the room where to press. It trades command for attention. The most composed person is not feared because he is loud. He is feared because he is immune. You cannot bait him. You cannot rush him. He sets the key the room tunes to. Watch how this plays in the modern arenas that drain us. In business, a man fires off a long, heated email at midnight. It reads like a closing argument. It wins no jurors. The leverage is gone by morning. Another man reads, sleeps, and replies at noon with 3 lines and 1 attachment. He asks for the rule, the risk, and the date. The thread ends there. Precision beats performance. Seneca called anger a brief madness. Argument is that madness dressed in logic. The more you explain, the more you expose. The more you react, the more you rehearse being reactive. A predictable person is easy to move. A predictable person is easy to use. Consider a quiet scene at home. A loved one launches a volley that, on another night, would draw you into hours of back and forth. Tonight, you refuse the arena. You breathe. You say one sentence that names your boundary and your care. You turn to the simple act that proves it tomorrow. You show up on time. You keep the plan. You follow through. Love returns to ground. Rivalry dissolves. You did not win by overpowering them. You won by not losing yourself. Publicly, the pattern is sharper. A person online who answers every slight becomes a caricature of reaction. The algorithm applauds. Their authority thins. Another person lets the chorus hiss into the void. They post work. They show receipts. They let time do what comments cannot. Mystery grows where there is no need to explain. That mystery is a weapon rarer than wit. See the deeper tactic. When someone tries to argue with you, they are inviting you into their frame, their tone, their tempo, their terrain. If you enter, you dance to their rhythm and call it standing up for yourself. If you stay silent, you keep the map. You observe. You listen. You measure. Then you act once, cleanly, and the act carries more weight than 100 well-aimed sentences. Make this practical. When bait appears, take a 6-second pause. Feel your feet in your shoes. Ask yourself 2 questions. What outcome matters? What preserves my frame? If a sentence is needed, say it once and in plain words. If proof is needed, ship the proof. If neither is needed, give the moment to silence and move your life forward where it counts. Not passive, precise. You might worry silence looks like weakness. That is the ego bargaining for applause. A Stoic does not price his worth at the market of opinions. He prices it at the ledger of conduct. Strength is custody of self. If you can be dragged, you are owned. If you cannot be dragged, you are free. In time, you will feel the city slow down around you. Meetings tighten to the point. Arguments wither for lack of oxygen. People edit their words in your presence, not out of fear, but because your calm sets the key. You become the tuning fork. The room tunes. If this way of moving serves you, subscribe for one quiet tool each week. And in the comments, write quiet wins to mark your shift from noise to command. From here, hold a simple creed. Observe more than you speak. Speak only to move the matter. Move only when the ground is yours. Then let the result end the conversation before it begins. In the next chapter, we'll turn restraint into visible authority. Why refusing to argue does more than keep you calm. It makes others choose respect. At this stage, feel how the room changes when you stop reaching for the last word and let your stillness fill the space. The noise keeps moving, but it no longer moves you. Now imagine the person who expects your spark, the public challenge, the clever jab, the loaded question delivered with a smile. They wait for your engine to roar so they can point to your smoke. Instead, you give them a clean sky. The silence is not empty, it is weight. Here's where the Stoic path and hard strategy meet. Epictetus advised, be silent for the most part, or speak merely what is necessary, not as a trick, as a way of guarding your ruling center. And Marcus reminds us, the best revenge is not to be like that. You do not mirror heat with heat. You hold your form. Respect gathers to form. Let's put it on the ground. In a meeting, someone tries to corner you. The old habit would jump into defense mode and write a speech you never rehearsed. Today, you breathe. You ask for the decision rule. You show the metric that matters. You say one sentence that moves the work forward and stop. The spectacle dissolves because there is nothing to feed it. Precision over performance, presence over applause, or take the evening storm at home. A partner lashes out, not to discover truth, but to pull you into weather they cannot name. You step into your own doorway and refuse the wind, not by shutting them out, but by slowing everything down. You name the boundary. You keep your promise tomorrow. You do not trade the relationship for the thrill of being right tonight. Calm is care in action. Even online, where outrage is a sport and replies are the score, the principle holds. The person who answers every slight teaches the crowd how to bait them. The person who rarely speaks teaches the crowd to measure their words. Silence filters. It keeps your day for the things that bear fruit. It gives your work a chance to speak without a chorus trying to drown it. Refusing to argue does more than prevent a mess. It creates a field where your presence grows heavier, more exact. The room leans in, not because you demand attention, but because you do not spend it cheaply. Arguments push people away. They scatter your energy and mark your weak spots in chalk. Silence pulls the room into a slower orbit. It hides nothing. It simply refuses to hand the map of you to anyone who rattles a key. There is a deeper reason this earns respect. When you argue, you enroll others in your insecurity. When you decline, you enroll them in your standard. The message is simple. I am not here to perform. I am here to produce. People begin to treat you accordingly. They bring facts, not gossip. They bring outcomes, not drama. You did not demand it. You modeled it. Clear beats loud. A story. Early in my career, I mistook debate for impact. I left rooms hoarse and empty. Later, a mentor taught me to choose my moments like a surgeon. Speak to move the matter one step. Stop. The first week felt strange. The second week, meetings shortened. By the third, the same colleagues who once tried to draw me into sparring began to edit themselves before they spoke. They were not afraid of me, they were aware of themselves. My quiet had tuned the pitch. Respect is born from custody of self. If others can pull you at will, they will not trust you with weight. If you hold your line, they learn that your yes is a hinge and your no is a wall. You become legible in the best way, reliable, not reactive, steady, not stubborn, selective, not withdrawn. The paradox appears. The fewer explanations you give, the more seriously your words are taken when you choose to give them. This does not mean silence forever. It means speech with purpose. One sentence that clarifies, one question that reframes, one action that ends the loop. Then back to work. Results defend better than rebuttals. Results quiet rooms. So keep the creed simple. Do not argue to be respected. Behave in ways that make respect the natural response. Speak less, mean more, move only when movement matters, and remember the line you carry inside your ribs. No one can command my state without my consent. Closing Part A. Notice what never asked to be defended. The strongest moves needed no speech, only custody of self. From here, we turn presence into method. Part B is where quiet authority becomes practice. Clear protocols, precise questions, written receipts, results that speak. We will not argue for respect. We will build it. Entering the first discipline of Part B, picture your hand on a doorframe while a storm shouts from the hallway as you step back into the room you control. The handle cools under your fingers. Your breath returns. The weather can rage outside. Now imagine the exact second you recognize the bait. The jab in the meeting. The late-night text loaded with subtext. The relative who knows which old bruise to press. Your body wants to sprint into the scene. Ask one quiet question inside your chest. For what? For peace or for points? Here's where the Stoic way becomes a method, not a mood. Marcus wrote, "If it is not necessary, do not do it." Epictetus added, "When something outside tries to pull you, remember your ruling faculty." This is the strategic withdrawal protocol. It is not avoidance, it is command. It is stepping out of the wrong arena so you can win on the right ground. Begin with recognition. Learn your 3 tells. Heat in the face, speed in the tongue. A sudden need to be understood. That is your bell. When you hear it, you do not argue. You exit. You exit with dignity and on purpose. One neutral sentence, one clear movement, then silence that resets the clock. The sentence is simple. I hear you. I will return with specifics. Or, let's put this in writing and reconvene. Or, I am not ready to answer that now. Then you leave the stage you never agreed to play on. You do not slam doors. You do not sigh. You do not mutter an extra sentence that gives the moment a tail to grab. You make the clean cut, and you guard the cut. Set a recovery window, a fixed block where you do not engage. An hour, an evening, a full day if the stakes are high. In that window, you cool the body and clear the mind. Walk. Breathe. Write 3 lines describing only what happened, not how you feel about it. Facts drain the poison. Call this your clarity log. When the window closes, you act from ground, not from heat. A story. A director cornered me after a presentation and demanded an on-the-spot commitment that would have wrecked our timeline. My throat tightened. The old me would have argued the whole hallway into sawdust. Instead, I said, I will review the dependencies and reply by 10 tomorrow. Then I left. In the morning, I sent a brief note with the risks, the costs, and one alternative. No apology. No defense. He wrote back, Good. Do the alternative. The hallway never happened because I refused to live there. Another scene. A partner's message pings at midnight, sharp and unfair. Your thumbs tingle with replies. Do not write. Do not read twice. Put the phone face down. Sleep. In the morning, you answer the part that moves the relationship, not the part that feeds the fire. One boundary, one plan, one action you will take today. Then you do it. The storm wanted theatre. You gave it weather reports and went back to building the house. Make the protocol visible in your life. Place a short card in your wallet or notes app. Triggers, exit lines, recovery window, next action. Train it when the stakes are small, so it is ready when the room is full and the microphones are on. Discipline is built in quiet hours. When the heat comes, you will reach for what you rehearsed. Notice the outcomes that follow. Fewer messes to clean. Fewer apologies you do not mean. Fewer nights spent drafting speeches in your head. Colleagues begin to approach you with specifics instead of drama. Loved ones learn the rhythm of your steadiness and trust it. Respect thickens around those who are not easily pulled. Remember, withdrawal is not retreat. It is repositioning. You are not leaving the game. You are choosing the field. You are buying time for truth to catch up to pressure. You are keeping your oath to your own composure. Hold one line at the center of this practice. I do not pay for peace with my self-control. If the moment asks for action, act once and cleanly. If it asks for a word, speak one and stop. If it asks for nothing, give it nothing. From here, we move to steering rather than stopping. The next discipline is how to lead a conversation without arguing at all, by changing the ground with questions instead of claims. Moving into the second discipline, feel the hallway quiet behind you as you return to the table you chose, palms flat, breath slow, eyes steady. The storm can keep its thunder. Here, you set the weather. Now imagine a voice across from you loaded with certainty, waiting for your defense like a trap with fresh bait. Your chest tightens, your reply gathers. Then a different instinct rises. Do not declare. Ask. A good question is a lever that moves the whole frame without raising your voice. It is a lantern. It makes people see what they were stepping over in the dark. This is where Stoic restraint becomes steering. Marcus wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Questions return that power to your hands. A claim fights the person. A question invites the standard. You are not trying to win a duel. You are inviting reality into the room. The method is simple to name and hard to master. 3 kinds of questions: scope, standard, stakes. Scope shrinks the fog. What exactly are we deciding today? Where does this begin and end? Standard lifts the debate out of ego. By what measure will we call this good? What evidence would change your mind? Stakes force clarity about cost. If we choose this path and we are wrong, what breaks and who pays? Ask one from each family. Then be silent long enough to let the question do its work. 6 slow counts. No rescue. Let the weight land. A story from a product review. The room wanted a scapegoat. The timeline slipped and everyone's sentences had sharp edges. I felt the old urge to justify each decision in a long, clever paragraph. Instead, I asked 3 lines. What is the single outcome this meeting must lock? What objective number calls this success next? Friday. If we miss that number, what do we stop doing the same day? The room turned. Opinions sat down. A list appeared. We left with 1 page and a date. Nobody remembered my restraint. They remembered their list. That is the point. Another scene at home. The argument begins to circle the same wound that never heals under heat. You ask a softer version of the same craft. What is the real need underneath this request? What would feel like forward by tomorrow evening? If I do that and I fail, what would you want me to stop assuming? No grand speeches, no heavy verdicts. You give the conversation a floor it did not have. Two humans stand on it again. Questions are not tricks. They are boundaries with curiosity in them. Epictetus will approve. Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. What is in your power? The shape of the talk, the pace of the heat, the choice to trade certainty for discovery. You are not pleading to be understood. You are compelling the problem to reveal itself. Do not rush the silence after a good question. Silence is part of the question. Count to 6. Let the first deflection pass. Then, if needed, repeat the question once, exactly as asked, like placing a stone back on the ground. You are not a prosecutor. You are gravity. Language matters. Keep it plain. Try these patterns and make them your own. What standard are we using to call this a problem? What result would let us say we were wrong without blame? What changes if we are off by 10%? What would be good enough by Friday? If this is urgent, what stops today to pay for it? Short sentences, no spikes, no sugar. Steel wrapped in felt. You will feel a strange discomfort at first. Your ego misses the comfort of being dazzling. Let it miss it. You are not here to be impressive. You are here to be effective. The room may test you with louder tones. Stay on the question. Return to the standard. Put the work on paper if talk keeps escaping structure. Calm is not the absence of emotion. Calm is the custody of focus. Patterns emerge when you live this way. People come to you prepared. Meetings end sooner. Conflicts end cleaner. Even your critics become clearer because they must show their math. Some will resist. Let them. Reality favors the one who invites it by name. Keep a small card in your pocket or notes. Scope, standard, stakes. One question for each. Practice on low-risk days so the skill is ready when the lights are bright. If you forget everything, remember this line at the center. Do not trade presence for performance. Trade noise for criteria. This discipline does not argue better. It makes argument unnecessary. It moves the talk from heat to ground, from faces to facts, from pride to plans. Respect follows the one who can do this without theater. Results do too. From here, we anchor what we ask with what we keep. The next discipline is quiet but heavy. Document. Do not defend. Put truth on paper so your calm has a spine. Moving into the third discipline, see a single sheet on your desk while the room still holds the heat of a conversation that almost became a fight. The page is cool, your pen is steady, the noise is somewhere else. Now imagine what would change if, instead of defending yourself in the air, you let the paper carry the weight. No performance, no sparring. Just a record clear enough to stand when moods do not. Calm has a home when truth has a place to live. This is where Stoic clarity becomes a craft. The rule is simple and hard. Document, do not defend. Marcus urged speech to be plain and spare. Records honor that. They don't beg to be believed. They don't chase applause. They just stand. And because they stand, you can. Here's how it feels in real life. A meeting ends hot. Fingers point loosely. Deadlines blur. The old habit would send you into long explanations, each line a hook for another person's ego. Instead, you say, I will summarize the decisions and open items before close of day. Then you do exactly that. 1 page, date, context, what was requested, what you committed, by when, no adjectives, no heat. The room that wanted a debate receives a mirror. People see their words without the music. Arguments deflate when the air of drama is gone. Paper is calm. Memory is a weather vane. When you trust memory alone, the wind writes your past for you. When you keep receipts, the wind has nothing to move. In negotiations, this becomes quiet leverage. I watched a vendor try to shift scope with a smile and a shrug. Instead of pushing back in the hallway, the project lead replied in writing with the original terms, the dates, the signatures, the change cost. No heat, no sting. 40 minutes later, a new email arrived. You're right. Proceed as scoped. Leverage without theatre. At home, the rule saves hearts from needless bruises. A late message comes sharp, mixing old hurts with tonight's fatigue. You resist the pull to text paragraphs at midnight. In the morning, you write 3 lines that hold the ground gently. I hear the concern about time together. This is what I can do this week by Wednesday. If that does not help, tell me what to adjust. The page clarifies what anger would have tangled. Love needs floorboards. Writing lays them. Epictetus taught the custody of our ruling faculty. Documentation is custody in public form. It is a way of saying, this is what happened, this is what I did, this is what is next. You are not proving yourself. You are preserving the frame where proof is unnecessary. You are protecting tomorrow from today's adrenaline. Keep the form small so you will actually use it. A 1-page log lives, a 5-page essay dies. Train 3 habits. First, summarize after friction. Short, even, exact. Second, confirm decisions in writing before work begins. The future respects what the past signed. Third, when lines blur, move the talk to the page. To avoid confusion, I'll put this in writing and send by 2. You are not hiding behind email. You are building a spine your calm can lean on. Language matters. Stay neutral. Try patterns like, to recap, here is my understanding of the request, the constraint, and the date. Please reply if anything differs. Or, for clarity, I am proceeding with A. If B is preferred, reply by noon. The sentences carry no heat, yet they contain a boundary. Clean words close open loops. There is a second gift in the record: information. The more others speak to the page, the more they reveal patterns, scope creep, shifting standards, favored excuses, reliable allies. You learn without arguing. You adjust without announcing. Strategy lives in those quiet lines. Expect your ego to protest at first. It wants the satisfaction of the last word. Let it miss that. Results will do better by you than victory speeches ever did. In time, the atmosphere around you changes. People bring specifics, not rumors. Meetings start with what is decided, not with what is felt. Accusations soften into requests because they know the page is waiting. This is not bureaucracy. It is mercy for your future self. It is respect for everyone's time. It is how you keep dignity in motion while others burn fuel in circles. When talked at, you write. When misunderstood, you write. When stakes rise, you write before you move. The habit is humble and unglamorous. It is also unbreakable under stress. Hold one line as you close today's practice. Put truth where it cannot be shaken. Then let the record do the arguing you will not do. From here, we turn records into proof that moves the world. The next discipline is simple and sharp. Stop defending and deliver. Let results speak so loudly that rooms fall quiet on their own. Advancing to the fourth discipline, feel the room you just cooled by putting truth on paper become a runway rather than a courtroom. The page is signed, the air steadies. What you do next will carry more weight than anything you could say. Now imagine a different habit taking the lead. Not replies, not perfect speeches. A single result placed on the table like a quiet stone that changes the river's path. What if action became your argument? What if delivery ended the debate before it began? Here's where Stoic philosophy turns from posture to proof. Epictetus would not ask you to explain your philosophy. He would ask you to embody it. Seneca would remind you that we learn by doing and by doing again until the act changes the actor. Marcus would point you back to what is within your control. The next move, the next craft, the next piece that can be built today. Real authority grows from that soil. Call this asymmetric action. While others spend energy widening the stage, you narrow the task. You choose one outcome that matters, and you define what finished looks like before you begin. Then, you work in a way that leaves fingerprints time can respect. Not perfect, finished, not flashy, useful. When it is ready, you let the results speak before you do. I learned this the hard way in a product cycle that had devolved into emails with long bodies and little spine, opinions multiplied, schedules stretched. I decided to stop defending choices that had no artifact behind them. For 7 days, I worked with the team on a small but undeniable piece of the whole. We shipped it on Friday morning with a 2-line note. Here is the feature. Here is the metric it moved. The thread fell silent. Meetings that had been planned to argue got repurposed to integrate what already existed. It felt like cheating, but it was simply work. Ship. Do not spar. Try the same thing where life is tender. A relationship that keeps looping the same argument is asking for a different kind of proof. You can write 10 paragraphs at midnight, or you can choose one promise you can keep by Thursday and let the kept promise be the message. Arrive on time, switch the phone off for the hour you agreed to, set the appointment you have avoided, and send the confirmation. Love trusts what it can count on. Consistency is a language the nervous system believes. In leadership, this discipline becomes a style. When asked for status, you do not begin with a defense. You begin with what has been delivered and what will be delivered next. One line that states the result. One number that shows its effect. One next step with a date. You are not hiding. You are teaching the room how to meet you on the ground where motion lives. People start preparing differently because you have changed the gravity. Results pull meetings toward clarity. There is a reason this works beyond optics. Action reorganizes attention. When you create something concrete, the conversation must travel through it. The artifact becomes the shared reality that limits the space for speculation. You do not win by volume. You win by leaving less to fill with noise. Of course, your ego will want to keep explaining. It wants applause on the way to the finish line. Let it want. The discipline is to convert that hunger into a sprint that produces one thing that matters. A draft, a prototype, a memo with a decision rule and a date. Choose the smallest valuable slice and move it across the line. Small is the doorway to real. Real is the end of many arguments. Language can help you here. When you send an update, lead with the artifact, then the metric. Then the ask. Keep the order. Result first. Number second. Decision third. This structure protects your frame under pressure. It keeps attention on what exists. It leaves little room for the theater that once drained you. Expect some people to resist. Action breaks patterns that gave them comfort. Stay with the work. Keep the pace short and steady. A week is a good drum. Something small and visible every 7 days moves cultures more than grand plans that never land. The habit will change you first, then your circle, then your rooms. Remember the Stoic spine inside all of this. What is mine to do today? What is not mine to control today? Place your effort where it can take root and let your conduct be the explanation you do not give. Quiet wins where noise keeps losing. Close this discipline with one uncompromising sentence you can carry in every arena. I do not defend, I deliver, then live like it is a vow. From here, you will need fuel to keep this rhythm clean. The next discipline is governance of social energy, where you decide in advance what earns your words and what earns your silence, so your results remain sharp and your calm remains yours. Entering the fifth discipline, feel the week like a crowded market where every voice bids for your attention and you choose, at last, what you will buy. The noise still shouts its prices. Your hand stays on your own wallet. This is choice as custody. Now, imagine your day as a radio dial. Every conversation, every notification, every headline is a station trying to claim your frequency. If you let the dial spin itself, you live in other people's weather. If you set the station with intention, you hear your life again. Clarity has a sound, so does waste. Here's where social energy becomes a craft instead of a leak. The Stoics did not count minutes, they counted mastery. Seneca said life is long if you know how to use it. Marcus asked again and again, is this necessary? Epictetus made the line simple. Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Your power, most days, is your attention, your words, your oxygen. Spend them like a scarce currency. Because they are. Think like a steward, not a consumer. Build a small, sturdy budget for your social energy. I keep 4 envelopes in my head: mission, growth, duty, noise. Mission feeds the work only you can do, the craft, the service, the promise you intend to keep with the world. Growth feeds your becoming, the book, the training, the honest friend who tells you the hard thing and waits. Duty serves the essentials, the people who count on you, the responsibilities that anchor your name. Noise is everything else that argues for your voice but cannot earn your voice. The week will offer you 100 chances to trade mission for noise. Decline like a professional. What does this look like in a room full of living people, not on a poster? A colleague tries to draw you into a familiar loop. Status theater, politics without policy, the kind of meeting that eats the afternoon and feeds no one. You do not lecture them. You do not roll your eyes. You ask with a level tone, which decision are we making in this half hour, and what dies if we don't? If the answer is fog, you move the time to your mission envelope. Not rude, precise. Time is tone, a story. I once watched a founder with 10,000 pings a day and the posture of a hunted man. He would reply to everything, everywhere, all at once, and wondered why the company ran him instead of the other way. A coach changed one lever. 2 silence windows, daily, device off. 90 minutes in the morning, 60 in the afternoon. The first week he felt guilty. The second, he felt oxygen. The third, the company began adjusting to the new gravity. He shipped 2 decisions that had been circling for months. People complained less. He explained less. The work grew. Noise starves when you stop feeding it your pulse. At home, the budget is the same and the stakes are higher. A partner's fear wants an instant speech. A child's question wants presence more than paragraphs. You choose the envelope with care. Duty and love are not noise, they are the point. But even love can be louder than it needs to be when anxiety narrates it. Shape the scene. Put the phone away for the hour you promised. Ask a simple question that turns heat into need. What would feel like forward by tomorrow? Then do exactly that. Relationship health is measured by kept time as much as by kept words. You will need language that protects your budget without slicing people. Keep it short and kind. I'm not the right person for this topic. Let's align on the decision and who owns it. I can't give this attention now. Send me the summary by noon. Let's come back when we have data for that claim. Or simply, not today. Soft voice, firm edge, steel wrapped in felt. And yes, the ego will protest. The ego is a theater kid. It wants more lines. It wants to be consulted, applauded, centered. A Stoic doesn't hate the ego. He seats it in the balcony. You can feel the tug to justify every boundary you draw. You do not indulge it. Boundaries explain too much. Are boundaries put up for vote? State the boundary. Live it. Let your calendar make the case. Set the room before the room sets you. Open the day with a short map that gates your words in advance. One slot for mission, where you work in deep quiet and refuse all inbound. One slot for growth, where you read, train, or learn without performative posts. One slot for duty, where you show up fully for people who rely on you. And a small pen for noise, yes, a pen, not a bucket, where you allow a limited window to skim, respond, and release. When the pen is empty, so is your availability for what doesn't pay your soul back. To make this real, you need rituals that are heavier than mood. 2 silence windows, always. 1 short list on paper, always. 1 conversation moved from heat to text, always. The body will try to argue for exceptions. Train it like a horse, not a dictator. Short reins, clear commands, gentle hand. When the body learns you mean what you schedule, it trusts you with more focus. Consider a week that tried to drown me before I could name it. A family issue pressed. An investor wanted updates. The team needed decisions. The old me would have poured words on all 3 and boiled dry. Instead, the budget held. Mission got 90 minutes before sunrise. 1 choice shipped each morning. Duty got unhurried dinners and quiet eye contact. No phones at the table. Growth got a late walk with a podcast that sharpened my thinking. Noise got 15 minutes and a trash icon. At week's end, I was tired but intact. The people I love were less worried. The work was more real. Nothing dramatic happened. That is the miracle. Calm scales. Notice how your relationships change when you live this way. The ones who relied on your constant availability may twitch and test. They will escalate to reclaim the old deal. Do not argue. Do not write essays about your new philosophy. Repeat the boundary in a friendly tone and keep living it. The ones who value you will adapt to the healthier rhythm. The ones who only valued your access will fade. That is not cruelty, that is clarity. Use the page, not to defend, but to align. When a project keeps reopening, write the rule. Here is what earns a meeting. Here is what is handled in email. Here is who decides by when and how we will know it is done. Share it once and refer to it often. When expectations are written, feelings have walls to lean on. Your calm gets a spine. Your team gets a map. Noise loses jurisdiction. There is a temptation to dress this up with apps and systems. Tools help. Principles save. If the tool serves the envelopes, keep it. If it makes you feel organized while your attention still leaks, delete it. The law is old and sharp. Spend yourself where it compounds. Withdraw from what steals and does not return. simple is hard. Do it anyway. Marcus asked, at every instant, what is before me now? Not in theory, in fact. Train that question into your muscles. Before you answer a message, ask which envelope it belongs to. Before you walk into a room, ask what role your presence owes there. Before you speak, ask if your words buy anything worth the price. I promise you this, 1 month of that question will feel like you added years to your life. What about generosity? What about kindness? They were never the problem. Draining yourself for strangers who won't remember your name by Friday is not kindness. It is confusion. Use the budget to give more, not less. When mission and duty are funded, you will have surplus for mercy. When growth is fed, your kindness is clean. You can say yes without resentment and no without guilt. That is adult love. Expect grief. You are leaving a familiar version of yourself, the always on, always explaining, always available self. He got praise for burning. He got attention for bleeding. He also got resentment and a nervous system that never slept. Let him go. You are choosing to be useful longer. You are choosing to be warm without being devoured. You are choosing to do the work the world will miss if you spend your life on noise. Carry 2 sentences out of this room. I protect signal. I starve noise. Say them under your breath when old patterns come knocking. Say them when the crowd pulls for your comment and your calm says otherwise. Say them when you are tempted to buy approval with your hours. Then look at your day and spend it where it will matter after you are gone. At this stage, your words have a home, your time has a spine, and your presence has rules that you do not betray. The 5 disciplines hold each other like ribs, withdrawal when baited, questions that set the ground, records that carry truth, action that ends the loop, governance that keeps the flame. From here, we stitch them into a week you can live, quiet, effective, and yours. Choose not to argue, and you win battles most people never see. You lead without demanding the spotlight. You move with a steady calm that sets the room right. You influence by living your standard, not by chasing permission. You do not fear being misunderstood, because you know a disciplined silence speaks louder than 1,000 anxious words. If this way of moving serves you, subscribe to keep these tools close. In comments, write "Stay silent," a reminder of the strength you own. Take this into tomorrow. Pause before the pull. Protect your frame. Let your actions speak, and let your peace decide the tone. You are allowed to be clear and kind at the same time. The next video will go deeper into turning this stillness into strategy you can use in hard rooms. I will meet you there.